So welcome back. I'm Julie Samaco, owner of Southern Charm Wreaths, where we teach you the art of silk floristry. Today, I thought we would make a little spring arrangement using some of my favorite colors for spring. Actually, I don't have a lot of the yellow, but if I am going to use yellow, this is literally my favorite color palette of all time for spring. And so this is what we're going to be using today for our container arrangement. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and do you also like to make your silk flower arrangements for your home or maybe your craft shows or Etsy shops? And then also, what is your favorite spring flower? What is your favorite spring flower? So many people love tulips, and I do too, but also I'm a fan of these lilacs. These are really pretty. I love the cone shape of the flower, and I think that's going to be very interesting, an interesting look. Let me get these all divided. I've got them all mixed up now. All right. So where's everybody from? Let me see. Let's see here. We've got Dallas, Texas. All right. Welcome. Welcome. We've got, hi, Amanda. How are you? How are you? All right. So here is our container. Let me show you my overhead. So this is my container. I've already got my foam in it. I've got some moss on the top. And these are the flowers we're using. Absolutely love these little lilacs. They're not the, they're petite-ish. Let's move these to the back. What's your favorite color palette for spring months? All right, I'm going to pull this over. Got my little lazy Susan to help me. Now, this is something interesting about these lilacs. When you're looking at your lilacs, they come in different, varieties, shapes, and sizes. I'm trying to find something that's similar to a size that might work well. I think I've already cut some of these off. That's what I was trying to find. So these have this little plastic piece. Do you see that? So if you have a stem cutter, you could cut all of these at one time right across the top, but you have to be sure, make sure that you're going above that big plastic piece right there. Okay, so you're gonna have to move it up. But when you do that, you're losing almost 2 inches from these outside stems. All right, so the outside stems, I'm cutting all of these as long as possible because I'm not exactly sure. I'm gonna cut these too. These actually would have been good for, see, now we're above it. We're on floor number 2. We're just going to cut these off and keep these as long as we can as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and remove my leaves. I'm not loving these. Sometimes when you're looking for silk flowers, I think that was one of the things I had to realize, that I'm a florist now. And what do florists do? Fresh florists. They, obviously they repurpose as much as they can, but there's a lot of stuff that they just don't use, right? They strip all the leaves off of their roses. These are good for mechanical purposes, so I'm going to use that. If you know, you know, right? And I'm going to remove these leaves. They're just not doing it for me. So if you're working with silk flowers, our purpose is to make them look as fresh as possible, and this is one of the tips, is just to remove anything that looks fake. If it's too heavy of a plastic, or if it's maybe sometimes it's this little tip right here, you can go in and just remove that so that it doesn't look as plasticky. And I could have done that. I probably would have done that had I seen that just to get ready for the video, but I'm not going to do it now. So you see how we're just getting rid of all of these. Is anybody else surprised when you see how much cutting you can actually do with your silk flowers? We had somebody in our Everbloom design club. She was just very surprised at how much we can cut off. Okay, I think that's all I have for now. And we're just going to get started with these. Fun, fun, fun. All right, so you can see, let me move my camera angle down. Here we are. Maybe you could see better on a side view. Sometimes, yes. Here is, look y'all, this is what we did in our Everbloom Design Club yesterday. I taught our members how to make this. It's so pretty. So this week they're getting multiple tutorials from several coaches. One is me, and I also was in Everbloom, we're doing business. So we did business on Tuesday, and this week, Thursday, taught them how to make this really fun spring arrangement that's just very unique. Very artsy, I think, a little artistic. I like to have this system where I have glue on one side and florals on the other, and then I try to clear a path because ultimately the glue strings, right, they just kind of get all over. So I'm going to try to move my things around. Okay, now one thing that you have to think about, do we have any varying sizes here? So there's a small one. Maybe we do. Maybe we do. Here's another little bloom. Here's a bloom. That's a little teeny one. I was going to focus on these larger ones, I think. I've not made this before, okay? One of the things I always say is this is the first time I've ever made this. I'm just using my knowledge that I have so far and creating something unique and fun. All right, I'm going to start with my I'm going to do a smaller flower, I think, and we're going to find one that's a little straighter. We're going to start in the center. Well, I just pulled the whole thing off. Let me put it back on now. There we go. And we're going to start in the center with our first flower. Now, depending on how large you want the base determines pretty much how far you go up, but it also determines your style. So if you were going to do this as an asymmetrical, you wouldn't start it this way. I was kind of thinking we would do a little more round. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do asymmetrical. I think I'm just going to do round. All right, so here I'm going to look at my container height, and I'm going to determine how high I want this to go. So you can do it 1.5 times is like the old standard, but it's up to you, right? You're the creator of this beautiful creation, and you're just going to feel it out. Okay, so I think I'm going to do right about here. So all I'm doing is I'm holding it on the back where you couldn't see it, and I'm moving the flower up until I like approximately where the height is, marking it with my finger, and then I'm going to cut about 1.5 inches from there. All right, so we're going to cut about 1.5 inches down, dip it in my glue, and I'm just going to put it roughly in the center. It doesn't have to be exact. Okay, it doesn't have to be exact. Trying to see if I could see any comments. Somewhere there was some comments. They were there and now they're gone. There we are. We got Jackie here and Tammy from Ohio. Love it. All of the colors, says Jackie. I love the purples and the yellow. Love, love, love. And then over on Facebook, we've got Teresa. Welcome, Teresa. All right, so we've got our first little flower, okay? So now from there, we can kind of work outwards, all right? So I think I'm going to work on my bottom floor first, and I think I'm going to have it come out right about here is what I'm thinking. All right, so I'm just going to trim. Now here is where a lot of people get confused because they think that you have to start in the center. I know I did. When I was first learning, I thought everything actually came out of the center, but that's not the case. You've got this whole area that you can utilize. So I literally could come here to put my stem on this side, but I also could come over here if I need to. All right, so it's completely up to you. One of the things I'm gonna do is try to remember to like bend my stems to give me that like realistic, you know, what would a stem look like when it is real. All right, so I think I'm gonna do right here. I'm gonna glue, place it in. You can bend it at that point. This is when your needle nose pliers might come in use. All right, so you can see right there. Do you see? So I've got my first piece and my second piece. And you can kind of see the placement of the stems. All right, now we're going to move on to stem number 2. What I want to do is come all the way over opposite of what I just did, okay? Let me just give a little bend with this. I'm going to try to angle, or what do you call it, keep the same distance as much as I can. Okay. One good thing about the silk flowers, if you mess up, just pull it out and do it again. All right, let's see. Is that going to be too far? Well, we'll see. We'll see. It is pretty far. Don't have that many flowers. See how I'm thinking here? All right, I don't have that many flowers. I mean, I could pull over more. So let's maybe pull this in just a little bit, okay? Because the larger you come out, the more flowers you're going to need. So let's just do it maybe here. It's not as grand as I was hoping it would be. Let's see, how many stems do we have? I mean, we do have a lot. I could do more. Oh yeah, look, we've got plenty. We've got plenty. So let's just move that one and save it for a different area. You see what I mean, you see what I mean, you guys? You just play around until it's something that you like. Okay. Let me get my needle nose pliers. I like these. It's funny how you have to use all these different tools from sometimes your husband's tool chest. I'm just moving it out a little bit. Okay, now there we go. Let's move on. So we're going to do another one. I'm going to do one over here. I'm paying attention to where I want my flower color to land. Let's do one over on this side. Now over here, what I think I'm going to do is instead of doing one directly across from it, I'm going to kind of angle it a little bit. All right, let's just see if that's good. Do one more. think I'm going to just angle this down a little bit more. Okay. That's good. It looks funny, I know. And, you know, no, not that anybody will really be looking, but it's irritating me. Let's make that a little bit more realistic looking instead of straight up and down. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go in, and I'm going to kind of just go up one layer. So this is, let's pretend this is like ground floor. This is penthouse. All right, we're going to work on the in-between floors. All right, in order to do that, we have to angle our flowers towards the corner of the room where the ceiling meets the wall, is what I like to always say in Everbloom. Where the ceiling meets the wall is where you're going to sort of angle your flower tip towards that. So that way you kind of get an idea of how to angle and insert. Now you can insert straight and bend that way if you want, but in my opinion, it gives just a little bit more of a realistic look if you just angle it as you go in. All right, the other thing to consider is I've got this piece and I've got this piece. So I want my flower to fall in a line. All right, so we've got, this is a plane, this is a plane, and then this is the plane. This plane, you're going to have it fall in between this line. So it's going to be right about there. So I'm going to work in between these two flowers, and then we're going to angle it. I'm going to keep hitting the stem right about there. And then I've got those smaller ones. Let's do this. Let's go over here and do this one. Okay. I'm going to leave all these little smaller ones for filling in. Let's get some bigger ones. So we had major storms yesterday. Did anybody else get some storms? 'Tis the season, right? And I remember growing up, like March was the time to fly kites. Does anybody remember that? And isn't there this saying, in like a lion, out like a lamb, or something like that? Spring. I do want a lot of, I want a lot of purple. All right, so we've got these two on this plane, and now we're going to move over and we're going to do some in between here. Don't forget to just bend a little. Let's go here. For some reason I wanted to go there, but let's see, that's too long. Don't forget to check the links, right? We're checking our link as we go. All right, now this is what we have. This one could be a tad smaller, but that's all right. Do I want it smaller? Let's just see. It could be a little smaller, but I think I'm gonna go with it. Now we have some others. Let's keep going. From this point, you're just sort of filling in, okay? So you can see here's the the top configuration. All right, it looks like there might be a little hole right here just when I held it up like that. So you could come over and put one here. It's totally up to you. Get a little more coverage right in that area. Let's bend this one down a little. That looks better. All right, so now from here, let's just start to fill in. We're just trying to keep somewhat of a line as we go. I think this is I think we're doing 3 bushes. I'm gonna go this way with this one. Let's make it smaller. We want some to go in and a little further in. It's going to bring my eye towards that center a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. All right, now I'm going to go a little shorter with that one, so I can either cut it shorter or just move it further in. These are lilacs. They are silk flowers. I got these from Greenery Market. You can get them in several different colors. I've seen them in yellow and blue. Another long one. Okay, I think I'm going to do another one. I didn't bring too many tulips over though. Do we want another? We've got one more cut. Let's do just a couple. Good afternoon, Sandra. Yes, flying kites. I'm not the only one. March comes in like a lion, it goes out like a lamb. That's what I remember. I remember that growing up in grade school. All right, this is another one. This one's a little larger. Let's see, do we want to go in here? Do we want to go in here? Yeah, I like that. There's another large one. I feel like it could go in deeper to bring in some of that purple here. Notice how I'm trying to get everything separated. So if they're touching too much, I'm just going to move it. Okay, that's better. All right, look at that. Just going to take these pretty close in. Okay, I think we're good with our lilac. Now I could, you know, obviously I have another bush I could finish out if I needed more. All right, so from here I just kind of step back. That's why a Lazy Susan is good to have, just to kind of like look and see if everything is aligned, if anything needs to be shortened. Like I could see how these two could be shortened. Sometimes you could pull the stem off the very tip, okay, and shorten it that way, or sometimes you just pull it out. All right. We're going to move this one. Okay. It is all about the bend. Still too short, I mean too long. All right, I think we're good. Now, let's look at our pink flowers. We've got tulips. Now you can leave these leaves on or you can take them off, whichever. From here, we're just going to fill in between our lilac. So remember, this is our what we did with our lilac. What we did with our lilac is get our spacing. And now the rest of it kind of goes a little quicker because you're just filling in. See what I mean? They pull off. And then you could cut and then move it back. Let's do this one up here. We should go fly a kite, y'all. I haven't done that in forever. Right now it's kind of muddy from all the storms. Where do you even buy a kite? I bet you can get on Amazon. You can buy everything on Amazon. You could probably buy, eventually I bet you could start buying your new husbands. Everything is there, isn't it? Every little area of your home or business. She's looking pretty. I'm removing some of these leaves and then some I'm keeping. Well, she's turning out pretty, I think. Let's see. There's a little bit of a hole over here. Do I want more pink or more purple? Let's do one over here. So we have some focal flowers that we can focus on, right? How many do I have left? I don't think I'm going to cut another. Honestly, I think we're good. Let's see, where is a high area? I think like right here is a good place. Why are we not spinning? Right here might be a good place. So what we could do here is bend this a little bit. So unfortunately, these don't have, they're not bendable at the ends, but that's okay. We can bend from this area, the stem, wherever the wire is. I'm going to have that one just kind of draping down. Reminds me of when your tulips are about the end stages. They're just almost gone. They're hanging on for dear life. Okay, I'm already seeing the little tips that I want to cut off. Glue, glue, glue. What are we thinking? This could potentially be a baby shower at this point, right? A baby shower arrangement. Doesn't take much time at all. They have them at Walmart. Ooh, I forgot about Walmart. That's an interesting. In the toy department. Woolworth. Kathy said she went to Woolworths. Now that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Could I use hydrangeas? Okay, so that's a really good question, Karen. I'm so glad you asked. One of the things I thought about doing is using hydrangeas. I actually had pulled them over because I thought, oh, that's going to be really pretty. It's the color pink that I want. However, you notice that these are larger than the lilacs. All right, and I wanted my focal flower to be the lilac here. So I didn't want, you can use hydrangeas for sure. You probably won't use as many, but this is now going to be your focal flower. Now this is 4 inches in size. These are much smaller. Do you see? You're always taking a look at your container on what size of the arrangement it can hold. You know, it depends on if you're going to do a round, if you're going to do asymmetrical, lots of things to consider. We go through all of that. Also, did anybody take our spring arrangements masterclass? Because I went in depth on which containers to use which shape arrangement. So if you're trying to find a shape, if you've got in a container and you're trying to figure out what shapes to use, or if you've got a shape in mind and you're trying to figure out what container to use. It's a little graphic, but you consider all of that, the size of the container, the size of the flower, the actual style of the design. All right, so I think this is pretty. Do I want to pop in some yellow? These are leftover Alstroemeria, we use these in our Everbloom design club when we were creating all of our wedding centerpieces. We used the colors of butter yellow, at least I did, butter yellow, blue, and white. Was there another color? I think that was it. It was just so pretty, but these are left over from that. These are Alstroemerias. I think I'm just going to pop these in. I don't have too many of them, so this is what I'm going to do. If I don't have a lot, I'm going to concentrate on balancing them. Okay, so here's where I'm still trying to see if I can get some of my flowers not to touch as much. All right, so if I went here, I'm going to go over on this other side. You could tell I'm repurposing. So we went here, I'm going to come over on this side. What is going on? All right, let's go over here. Okay, so now we're going to do another side. It might be a little long, we'll see. And then we're going to come over here. It's still not rolling very well. So this was one where I'm going to just pull the top off and then cut the stem and then put it back on. All right, so we've got all of that around it. And I've got, how many? 3. Now let's work in the center somewhat. So we'll go here. I don't know what's wrong with my table. She just started to not cooperate. I bet there's a ton of glue and something in there. Okay. All right, do we feel the yellow is evenly dispersed? Isn't that fun that we just had a little bit? All right, step back. Now what we're going to do is just fill in with some greenery. You can do grass. Oh, you know what? Let's do filler flowers. We are going to use these little wild daisies. 1, 2, maybe 3. So these are called a spray. There's more than one flower on one stem, but it's not a bush. A bush is where they're more of a bush, you know, it's more mass. This is more linear. So this is what they would call a spray. A stem is just typically one flower. That was a great question. Anybody else have any questions? Now berries, you could put berries in here. Oh, I do have a little bit I could put. All right, so here we're just gonna pop these in. You know, just moving throughout. This is a longer one. Let's see, do we need a stem? Maybe just a little. I was just thinking, I haven't even used the steel pick machine in this yet. Okay, so we've got one here, we got one there. We're gonna just come over on this side. Where would we put this? Where in the home can we put an arrangement like this? So if you're selling, you have to help your customers think of all the areas they're missing out. Have you ever had that? Somebody was like, oh, I just love this, but I don't have anywhere in the house to put it. You can say, really? Do you have something on the kitchen table? Do you have something on the island? What about in the bedroom? What about downstairs? What about, you know, in the toy room or the playroom or the study or the office or a teacher gift? Or, you know, you're sort of just going through ideas to help her go, oh, you know what? I didn't think about that. When I'm done, do I figure out what's the front and the, so if I'm trying to do question is when you're done, do you figure out where's the front and the back? Hopefully with a round arrangement, anything could be the front or the back if you've done it right. But if you are trying to have a specific front, like you know where it's going to be and you're like, I got to have something on the front. It's going to go not on a table. It's going to go, say, on a buffet where the back's not going to be really seen. If you know that, then you're going to want to take that into account before you start. So that you're designing towards the front always in mind. Okay, maybe one more. I think maybe one more stem of the white. So now that's one more spray. 4, we got, what did we do? 3 lilac, 3 tulip, 4 white. Now, if you're trying to make something for someone and you have a specific budget and you just can't, you know, always put this much, you can always go in and fill in with, you know, more greenery that's got a lot of, like a bigger leaf on it. I really wanted something bold. One more stem. Flower Friday. Loving it. Wow, we haven't put one piece of greenery in. How fun. That is huge. Look at that. Oh my gosh, so pretty. Now, let's think greenery. Okay, we don't need a lot. If you didn't want to do the white, you could always just pop in the greenery without that white flower. So I think I'm just going to put a few sprigs here and there. Do I want this? Here is what I was thinking would be a good berry. I'm loving the color of that. But then there's this one too, which is, it's a little on the yellow side, okay? And it's also very large. So while it might look okay, a couple of these in there, it does kind of go with the center of the white flower, but I don't know if I like it as much as that other one. You also have something like this, right? You're just going to cut it very short and you're going to pop it into the bottom, and this will help cover some of the foam up. All right, to me, this isn't coverage, this is texture. All right, I do like that. Let's go back to our original greenery. And then I also have a maidenhair fern, both same green, same color. See how long this is? I'm looking for something more wide than long. Here's one. Here's one that's a little wider. Ooh, now there we go. How many of these do we want? Not much. I'm still debating on this. I think I'm going to wait on that. And then we have this. I like that. It's more, you know what this reminds me of? Like palms. Palm Sunday. Eastery feeling. You can tell I've already been hacking at this one. Greenery to me, when you do this method, is just really good for filling in with your leftovers. Like, go through your stash of your leftovers and see what you have. All right, here's a long one, and it's kind of short. So I think I'm going to put this on the top. Berber top. But I want to see if it's going to be seen. See, it's just barely peeking out. Okay, we're going to do one on one side, flip it around. Let's do one over here. If you get your glue on your container, it comes right off once it cools. Okay. Let's do one more. Okay. I've got two more. just gonna find a hole. Let's do here. And then we'll do over here. All right, so if you look close, you can see it. I do have ivy. Ivy would definitely overpower this. At least the ivy that I have, it would be a larger leaf. So I'm trying not to detract from our flowers, but just give the texture of greenery. So this is maidenhair fern. It's big. Again, you're just wanting a little texture. We've got one there. You just barely see it popping out. I'm going to do one more, I think. Okay, and then these little pieces that I cut, I'm just going to find a place inside. It's okay if you can't see them. All right, so there's those two pieces of greenery. And then we have our berry. How are we going to do this? Maybe here. So we've put it right there. I love you guys asking about what flowers you could use. What about this? What about that? I love it. So this is exactly what we teach inside of our Everbloom Design School. Like how to just figure out your flowers, how to have fun, how to come up with different ways of using your silk flowers. Or if you have a special event coming up and you're looking for something, Mother's Day brunch. Do we still do this? Do we still do that? It was an after church event for us. We all went to, what was the name of that cafe? It had 2 initials. Like, I can't even remember. R something maybe. And it was a buffet. Did I say that? It was a buffet cafe. Whoop, I forgot my stem. And me as a chubby kid loved it because it was like, you know, all the different foods. And Mama didn't have to cook and Dad didn't have to cook. Daddy could cook. He could cook just like a couple of meals. He could grill. Not smoke or anything. We never saw him do that. But he, you know, he could grill a mean hamburger, steak. He cooked what he called hash. He learned it in the war. Or learned it in somewhere. I don't think he went to actual war. I think it was more like a training something. It was hamburger, potatoes, and what else? Onions. Okay, you grill the hamburger and you put your potatoes in and then you kind of let them steam with the onions. Now, if I made it now, it would be good. But man, I hated it as a kid. I think it was because that's the only thing he really cooked. And when Mom wasn't cooking or working late, we kind of had that a lot. we got sick of it. We were putting ketchup on it. We were literally trying to do anything. All right, I think I'm done. Do y'all see the different texture of that greenery? See it? Here's the top. Did you need the greenery? Yeah, absolutely you need the greenery. You always need the greenery. You always need the greenery, even if it's just a little, you know, kiss of it. Because the greenery adds the texture, it adds the color depth, it breaks up all of the pretty color of the flowers. But what do you think about me starting with the flowers this time and not the greenery, right? So I created my shape based off of the spacing of my flowers, my focal flowers, and then you go back in and add your greenery. So if you are sitting there and you're like, man, I have a lot of flowers, not a little greenery, and you know, I always see Julie starting with the greenery and creating the foundation first and then laying your flowers over top of it, just giving you options that you can have, you know, do this multiple ways. I'm sitting here popping off all of these little plastics tips because I don't like anything that looks artificial. To me, that just helps to make the make the design look a little more professional and realistic. So people will try to water it, and you're going to be like, "No, girl, these are fake. I'm the fake florist." All right, I'm almost done. Any questions? Any questions? How do you join Everbloom? Everbloomdesignschool.com. Everbloom Design School. Geez, that's not right. Everbloom Design Club. Everbloomdesignclub.com. I almost called it school, but I started wondering, like, who wants to go back to school? Like, that sounds boring. A club is more inclusive. Everbloomdesignclub.com. Our doors are open for spring admittance. If anybody's interested in learning the silk florals, principles and elements of floristry, all included, color theory. Mama says, I've been learning from you for years. You're the reason I started an Etsy shop. Yahoo! I love it. I absolutely love it. Tammy says her mom made casserole, that hamburger casserole. Interesting. Yum. Karen's making peanut butter cookies. I love it. All right, you guys. Any other questions? Don't forget, be on the lookout. We do have a 2-day challenge coming up for anyone who's interested. It is patriotic bow making, and it's not going to be like anything you've ever seen before on YouTube. It is not going to be like anything that you've ever seen in any of our classes, because we are going to teach you more than just skill. We're going to teach you why it's important to understand who you're creating and designing for, because that determines what supplies you purchase in the first place. All right, you guys, be on the lookout for that. That's coming up soon. It's the Patriotic Bow Challenge. I'm not sure if we're ready for it to be sold yet, but it's coming up. Look at that. I love it. Who wouldn't want this? Like, how do you not smile looking at this? I'm just in love. I'm going to take it home with me, I think. All right, you guys, give us a follow if you like all things silk flowers. And if you have any questions, just comment below, #replay, so that I know you probably didn't see the live. And then I will see you next Flower Friday. Bye.